The massive alien ship moved through space like a dark mountain floating among the stars. Commander Zethkar stood on the bridge looking at the blue planet ahead of them. His red eyes scanned the reports on his screen. Earth looked weak and small compared to the 47 worlds his empire had already conquered. "Sir, we are getting close to their homeworld," said his officer. "Should we send the usual message?" Zethkar nodded his large head. His species called themselves the Krell, and they had ruled the galaxy for over 300 years. Every planet they found either gave up without a fight or got destroyed completely. These humans would be no different. "Send them our standard demand," he ordered. "They have 72 hours to surrender or we will wipe them out." Far below on Earth, Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when alarms started ringing all over the space station. He ran to the control room where his team was staring at their screens with wide eyes. "What do we have?" Jake asked. Lisa Rodriguez turned from her communication desk. Her face was pale. "Sir, we have 12 massive objects coming toward Earth. They are bigger than anything we have ever built." Bobby Chen looked up from his engineering station. "Captain, these ships are using technology we do not understand. Their power readings are off our charts." Jake felt his stomach drop. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, and it did not look good. "Are they trying to talk to us?" Jake asked. Lisa nodded and put the message on the main speakers. A deep voice filled the room, speaking in perfect English. "People of Earth, this is Commander Zethkar of the Krell Dominion Empire. Your world has been chosen to join our great empire. You have 72 hours to surrender completely. Lay down all weapons and prepare for occupation. If you refuse, we will destroy your planet and everyone on it. This is your only warning." The message ended, and the room fell silent. Jake looked around at his team. They all knew what this meant. Earth was about to face something it had never seen before. Down on the planet's surface, emergency meetings started in every major city. President Helen Carter sat in the White House Situation Room surrounded by military leaders and scientists. Admiral Rick Sullivan spread star charts across the table. "How many ships do we have that could fight these aliens?" President Carter asked. "We have about 200 ships in our defense fleet," Admiral Sullivan replied. "But compared to what we are seeing up there, we might as well throw rocks at them." Dr. Amy Foster, the lead scientist, looked at the alien technology readings. "These ships use energy sources we have never seen. Their weapons could probably destroy our largest ships with one shot." President Carter stood up and walked to the window. She could see people in the streets looking up at the sky. Some were crying, others were praying, but many looked angry. "What are you thinking, Madam President?" Admiral Sullivan asked. She turned back to face the room. "I am thinking about what my grandfather told me about World War II. He said that bullies always think they can push people around until someone stands up to them. But these are not human bullies," Dr. Foster said. "These aliens have conquered 47 worlds. They have weapons and technology that are hundreds of years ahead of ours." President Carter nodded. "Maybe they do, but they have never fought humans before." High above in orbit, Jake Morrison was watching the alien ships position themselves around Earth. They moved with the confidence of predators who had never met anything that could hurt them. "Captain," Lisa called out, "I am picking up communications between the alien ships. They are talking about how easy this will be." "What are they saying?" Jake asked. "They are laughing about human technology. One of them called our ships flying trash cans and said we still use chemical rockets like children with fireworks." Bobby Chen looked angry. "Let them laugh. My grandfather always said that smart people do not talk about how strong they are. They just show it when the time comes." Jake nodded. "Bobby is right. These aliens think they know everything about us because they have fancy ships and big guns. But they have never seen what humans can do when we get pushed into a corner." On the alien flagship, Commander Zethkar was already planning the victory celebration. His species had perfected the art of conquest. They would bombard Earth's major Cities from orbit, land troops in the ruins, and set up their government. Within a few months, humans would be working in Krell factories and mines just like every other conquered species. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we are getting a response from the human government." "Put it on screen," Zethkar ordered. President Carter appeared on the main display. She looked calm and determined. "Commander Zethkar, I am President Helen Carter of Earth. We have received your demand, and here is our answer. Humanity will never bow down to alien tyranny. If you want our world, you will have to take it from us. And I promise you, we will make you pay for every inch." The transmission ended. Zethkar and his officers looked at each other in surprise. In 300 years of conquest, no species had ever refused their demands so clearly. "Foolish primitives," Zethkar said with a laugh. "They have no idea what they are facing. Begin the attack preparations. We will show them the price of defying the Krell Empire." But as the alien commander gave his orders, he had no idea that he was about to learn something new about the species called humans. Something that would change everything. The 72 hours passed quickly. As the deadline arrived, Commander Zethkar expected to see white flags and surrender messages from Earth. Instead, he saw something that confused him. Human ships were moving into attack positions. "Sir, the humans are actually preparing to fight us," his tactical officer reported. Zethkar laughed. "Let them come. Their primitive weapons cannot even scratch our shields." But the humans did not attack the way the Krell expected. Instead of forming neat battle lines like every other species, the human ships scattered in all directions. Some hid behind Earth's moon, others used the planet's gravity to slingshot around and change direction quickly. Lieutenant Commander Pete Williams sat in his modified cargo ship watching the alien fleet. His vessel looked like a simple transport, trying to escape the battle. The aliens ignored it completely. They were too busy chasing the military ships to notice one cargo hauler drifting toward their flagship. "This is crazy, Pete," his co-pilot said. "We are flying a bomb into the middle of their fleet." Pete smiled. "My dad always said that sometimes the craziest plan is the best plan because nobody expects it." His ship was packed with every nuclear warhead they could find. The plan was simple but dangerous. Get close to the alien command ship and detonate everything at once. The aliens would never see it coming because their sensors were looking for energy weapons and missiles, not an old cargo ship full of atomic bombs. On Earth, Marine Colonel Susan Lewis was preparing for something the aliens had never faced before. While other species had always fought traditional battles with armies facing each other in open combat, humans had learned to fight differently. "Listen up," she told her officers. "When those aliens land on our planet, they will expect us to meet them with tanks and soldiers in uniform. Instead, we are going to disappear." She pointed to maps of major cities. "We will fight them in the sewers, from rooftops and out of abandoned buildings. Every grocery store, every school, every parking garage can become a fortress. The aliens think they know how to fight, but they have never fought humans." Colonel Lewis had studied every war in human history. She knew that big armies with fancy weapons often lost to smaller groups who knew the land and were willing to do whatever it took to win. In space, Pete Williams was getting close to his target. The alien flagship was enormous, bigger than 3 city blocks. Its shields glowed with energy that could stop any missile or laser beam. But Pete was not carrying energy weapons. "Nuclear bombs are not high-tech," Pete said to himself. "But they still make a really big bang." The Krell sensors showed the cargo ship approaching, but dismissed it as harmless. Their computers were programmed to look for threats from advanced civilizations. They could detect plasma cannons and particle beams from thousands of miles away, but they completely missed the primitive nuclear weapons hidden in Pete's ship. "Target acquired," Pete announced over the radio. "This is for Earth." He aimed his ship directly at the alien bridge and activated the detonation sequence. The Krell finally realized what was happening, but it was too late. Pete's ship hit the flagship and exploded with the force of 50 nuclear weapons going off at once. The blast tore through the alien shields like they were made of paper. The massive flagship broke apart in a ball of fire that could be seen from Earth's surface. Commander Zethkar and half his senior officers died instantly. The remaining Krell ships stopped their attack in shock. In 300 years of conquest, they had never lost a command vessel. Their enemy was supposed to be primitive and weak, not clever enough to turn a simple cargo ship into a massive bomb. On Earth, Dr. Amy Foster was studying pieces of alien technology that had fallen from the destroyed ship. What she found surprised her. "These systems are incredibly advanced," she told her team, "but they are also incredibly complicated." Her assistant, Tony Garcia, looked at the alien circuits. "It is like they built everything to be perfect instead of practical." Dr. Foster nodded. "That might be their weakness. Human technology is simple and tough because we have to fix it ourselves. Alien technology is so complex that if one part breaks, the whole system fails." She had an idea. "Tony, what if we could overload their systems with something really simple, like an electromagnetic pulse?" Tony smiled. "You mean fight their super-advanced computers with the electronic version of hitting them with a hammer?" "Exactly," Dr. Foster said. "Sometimes the old ways work best." Back in space, the new Krell commander was trying to understand what had happened. His name was Subcommander Vextar, and he had never seen anything like the human attack. "How did they destroy our flagship?" he demanded. "Sir, they used primitive nuclear weapons," his science officer reported. "Our sensors were not programmed to detect such old technology." Vextar was angry. "Nuclear weapons? Those are ancient. No civilized species has used nuclear bombs for thousands of years." "Yes, sir, but the humans still have them, and they work." This was the Krell's first lesson about humans. While other species had replaced their old weapons with new technology, humans kept everything that worked. They had nuclear bombs, chemical explosives, kinetic weapons, and anything else that could hurt an enemy. On the planet's surface, news of Pete Williams' successful attack spread quickly. Captain Jake Morrison addressed the Human Defense Forces. From his damaged space station, "People of Earth, Lieutenant Commander Williams just proved something important. These aliens can be hurt. Their ships can be destroyed. They are not gods. They are just bullies with big guns." Around the world, human forces began preparing for the next phase of the war. They knew the aliens would land troops soon. And when they did, humanity would show them something no other species had ever shown the Krell. In the White House, President Carter met with her military leaders. "The aliens will be angry now. They will want revenge for their losses." Admiral Sullivan nodded. "Our intelligence suggests they are calling for reinforcements. More ships are coming." "Let them come," President Carter said. "The more ships they send, the more ships we can destroy. Pete Williams just taught us something valuable. The aliens expect us to fight like everyone else. But we are not everyone else." Colonel Lewis added, "When they land on our planet, they will learn another lesson. Humans do not just fight with spaceships and armies. We fight with everything. We have, and we never give up." As night fell over Earth, the human resistance prepared for the real war to begin. The aliens had superior technology and more ships, but they had never faced an enemy like humanity. They were about to learn that sometimes the strongest weapons are not the most advanced ones, but the ones wielded by people who refuse to surrender. 3 weeks after the first battle, the Krell reinforcements arrived. Sub-Commander Vextar now commanded 5 fleets instead of 1, with over 100 ships and 50,000 ground troops. He was determined to make the humans pay for destroying his flagship. "Begin orbital bombardment of their major cities," Vextar ordered. "We will break their spirit before we land our forces." The alien ships opened fire on Earth's largest cities. Beams of energy struck buildings and turned them to dust. Millions of humans ran for cover as the bombardment continued for hours. The Krell expected mass panic and immediate surrender. Instead, They got something completely different. Fighter pilot Rachel Brooks was leading a squadron of Earth interceptors when the bombardment began. While alien energy beams destroyed buildings, below, she was flying through Earth's upper atmosphere, using the planet's magnetic field to hide her ships from enemy sensors. "Listen up, people," Rachel said over the radio. "These aliens think they can scare us by blowing up our cities. Time to show them what happens when you make humans angry." Her squadron of 20 fighters attacked the alien bombardment ships from below, coming up through the atmosphere where the Krell were not watching. The human fighters were tiny compared to the alien vessels, but they were fast, and their pilots were fearless. "Target their weapon systems," Rachel ordered. "We cannot destroy these big ships, but we can break their guns." The human fighters swarmed around the alien ships like angry bees. They fired missiles at weapon ports and used kamikaze attacks when they ran out of ammunition. Rachel watched one of her pilots, Lieutenant Jimmy Carson, ram his fighter directly into an alien cannon turret. When his missiles were gone, "Jimmy, no!" Rachel shouted, but it was too late. Jimmy's voice came over the radio one last time. "Tell my kids their dad fought for their freedom." His fighter exploded against the alien weapon, destroying it completely. The Krell had never seen pilots willing to sacrifice themselves to damage an enemy ship. In their culture, self-preservation was the most important thing. Underground in the ruins of New York City, Resistance leader Frank Murphy was coordinating with fighters across the globe. The aliens had destroyed most of the communication satellites, but Frank was using old radio equipment and underground cables that the Krell did not know existed. "All units, this is Resistance Command," Frank broadcast. "The aliens control the skies, but we control the ground. Remember what we learned from every war in human history? The enemy can bomb our cities, but they cannot hold territory without boots on the ground. In hidden bunkers around the world, human resistance cells prepared for urban warfare. They had studied how smaller forces defeated larger armies throughout history. The aliens might have better weapons, but humans knew how to fight in cities, sewers, and ruins. Dr. Amy Foster was working in a secret laboratory deep underground. She had been studying captured alien technology and had made several important discoveries. "Tony, look at this," she said to her assistant. "The alien power systems are incredibly efficient, but they have one major flaw." Tony Garcia examined the alien components. "What kind of flaw?" "They cannot handle power surges. If we hit them with a strong electromagnetic pulse, their entire system will overload and shut down." Tony smiled. "You mean we can knock out their super advanced technology with what is basically a really strong magnet?" "Exactly. Their technology is so refined that it has no protection against crude electrical interference." While Dr. Foster worked on weapons to fight alien technology, news anchor Kelly Price was broadcasting from a hidden studio in the ruins of Chicago. The aliens had tried to destroy all human communication systems, but Kelly kept finding ways to reach the people. "This is Kelly Price with the Resistance broadcast," she said into her microphone. "The aliens think they can break our spirit by destroying our cities. But they do not understand humans. Every time they knock us down, we get back up stronger, her." Broadcasts spread hope among the human resistance. She reminded people that humans had survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and every other disaster imaginable. Alien invaders were just one more challenge to overcome. The Krell made their first major mistake when they decided to land ground forces in the ruins of major cities. They expected to find broken humans hiding in the rubble, ready to surrender. Instead, they found an enemy unlike anything they had ever faced. Colonel Susan Lewis had spent weeks preparing the urban battlefield. Every building, every sewer tunnel, and every basement had been turned into a potential weapon. When the first alien troops landed, they walked into the most dangerous environment possible for an occupying force. "Remember," Colonel Lewis told her fighters over the radio, "we do not try to defeat them in open battle. We hit them when they do not expect it, then disappear before they can fight back. Make them afraid to walk down any street or enter any building." The first alien patrol that entered downtown Los Angeles was ambushed by fighters hiding in a shopping mall. The humans used improvised explosives made from household chemicals and attacked from multiple directions at once. By the time the aliens realized what was happening, half their squad was dead, and the humans had vanished into the ruins. Similar attacks happened in every occupied city. The Krell found that their advanced sensors and weapons were useless against enemies who popped up from manholes, attacked from rooftops, and disappeared into crowds of refugees. Engineer Carlos Rivera had been working with Dr. Foster to build electromagnetic pulse weapons. They were crude devices made from car batteries and microwave ovens, but they worked exactly as planned. The beauty of these EMP bombs, Carlos explained to his team, is that they are too simple to break. The aliens have computers that can think faster than human brains, but they cannot handle a power surge that would barely damage a television. When the aliens tried to set up communication centers in occupied cities, human saboteurs destroyed them with EMP attacks. The Krell technology simply shut down when hit with electromagnetic pulses, leaving the aliens blind and unable to coordinate their forces. Programmer Nina Walsh was working on an even more clever solution. She had figured out how to create computer viruses that could infect alien systems through their own communication networks. Their computers are incredibly advanced, Nina explained to her team, but they assume all other technology is equally advanced. They have no protection against really simple computer attacks. Her viruses were designed to spread through alien networks and cause their systems to malfunction in subtle ways. Weapons would aim incorrectly, doors would open at random times, and communication systems would broadcast false information. After 2 months of fighting, Sub-Commander Vextar was beginning to understand the magnitude of his mistake. His forces controlled the ruins of several human cities, but they could not move freely anywhere. Every street corner could hide an ambush, every building could contain a bomb, and every human refugee might be a resistance fighter. "Sir," his intelligence officer reported, "we have lost over 30% of our ground forces. Our ships cannot locate the human resistance fighters because they blend in with civilian populations." Vextar studied the tactical reports. The humans were not fighting like any species the Krell had ever conquered. They used every dirty trick, every desperate tactic, and every weapon they could find. Worse, they seemed to be getting stronger instead of weaker as the war continued. "How is this possible?" Vextar demanded. "We have superior technology, superior numbers, and superior firepower." "Sir, the humans fight differently than other species. They do not care about military honor or following rules of war. They only care about winning." For the first time since beginning the invasion, Vextar felt a cold fear in his chest. The Krell had made an assumption that all intelligent species would fight the same way. They were learning that assumption was very, very wrong. 6 months into the war, the Krell occupation of Earth had become a nightmare for the alien forces. What should have been a simple conquest had turned into a bloody stalemate that was draining their resources and morale. Sub-Commander Vextar stood in his command center looking at casualty reports. His forces had lost nearly half their ground troops and dozens of ships to human attacks. The worst part was that the humans seemed to be getting better at fighting every day. "Sir, we have another problem," his communications officer reported. "The humans have been broadcasting technical information to other worlds in our empire." Vextar felt his blood turn cold. "What kind of technical information?" "Instructions for building the electromagnetic weapons they use against us. Also detailed plans for guerrilla warfare tactics and urban combat strategies." This was exactly what Vextar had feared most. The Krell Empire controlled 47 worlds through fear and superior technology. If other species learned how to fight back effectively, the entire empire could collapse. On Earth, Dr. Amy Foster was working with a new team of scientists and engineers in a hidden facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. They had spent months studying captured alien technology and had made breakthrough discoveries. The alien faster-than-light drive works on quantum field manipulation, she explained to the group. It is incredibly complex, but the basic principles are not impossible to understand. Engineer Roy Baker looked at the alien drive components they had salvaged from crashed ships. So you are saying we could build our own faster-than-light ships? Not immediately, Dr. Foster replied. But yes, with enough time and resources, we could adapt their technology for human use. This was the development that would change everything. While the Krell assumed that their technology was too advanced for primitive humans to understand, human scientists were proving them wrong once again. In the ruins of London, Resistance fighter Sergeant Danny Hayes was leading an attack on an alien supply depot. His team had been studying Krell tactics for months and had learned to predict their movements. The aliens always use the same patrol routes, Danny explained to his squad. They rely on their computers to plan everything, so they never change their patterns. His team set up an ambush using captured alien weapons combined with human-made explosives. When the Krell patrol arrived right on schedule, they walked into a devastating trap. Take their equipment and disappear, Danny ordered after the attack. The aliens will send reinforcements in exactly 12 minutes. The human resistance had learned to fight with mathematical precision, using the aliens' own predictability against them. The Krell were discovering that their reliance on computer-planned tactics made them easy to ambush by enemies who thought creatively. Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell was coordinating similar attacks across Europe. She had noticed that the aliens became confused and made mistakes when faced with simultaneous attacks in multiple locations. Hit them everywhere at once, she told resistance leaders over encrypted radio. Their command structure cannot handle multiple crisis situations at the same time. The coordinated attacks began at exactly noon London time. Resistance cells struck alien positions in Paris, Berlin, Rome, and Madrid simultaneously. The Krell communication systems became overloaded, trying to coordinate responses to dozens of attacks happening at once. In space, Captain Jake Morrison was commanding a growing fleet of hybrid ships built from human and alien technology. His engineers had learned to combine the best aspects of both technologies to create vessels that were more effective than either species could build alone. The alien ships are powerful but inflexible, Jake explained to his pilots. Our ships are smaller, but we can adapt them quickly to meet new threats. His fleet used hit-and-run tactics against Krell supply ships, destroying their ability to resupply ground forces on Earth. The aliens found themselves fighting a war of attrition they were not prepared for. The breakthrough came when programmer Nina Walsh successfully hacked into the main Krell communication network. She discovered something that changed the entire war. The Krell Empire is not as strong as they pretend, she announced to the resistance leadership. Most of their conquered worlds are held by small occupation forces. The aliens rely on fear and the belief that resistance is impossible. Colonel Eddie Susan Lewis studied the intelligence Nina had gathered. You mean if other worlds knew how to fight back, they could defeat their occupiers? Exactly. The Krell have maybe 1,000 ships total spread across 47 worlds. If even half those worlds rebelled at the same time, the Empire would collapse. This intelligence led to the most important decision of the war. President Helen Carter authorized the broadcast of complete technical specifications for all human-developed anti-Krell weapons to every world in the alien empire. We are not just fighting for Earth, President Carter announced. We are fighting for the freedom of every species the Krell have enslaved. The broadcast went out on captured alien communication channels, reaching 47 worlds simultaneously. For the first time in Krell history, their conquered subjects learned that the Empire could be defeated. The response was immediate and devastating to Krell control. On the mining world of Zerion Prime, the enslaved Novan species used human-designed EMP weapons to disable their Krell overseers. On the agricultural world of Green Haven, the Zephyrian farmers built improvised explosives from fertilizer and attacked alien administrative centers. Within weeks, uprisings were spreading across the galaxy. The Krell found themselves fighting wars on dozens of worlds simultaneously, using tactics and weapons they could not counter. Field Commander Mary Collins was leading resistance operations in Asia when she received reports of the Galactic uprising. "This is what we hoped for," she told her fighters. "The aliens can defeat one world, but they cannot defeat an entire galaxy." The Krell Empire began to crumble as world after world declared independence. Their ships were spread too thin to suppress. Multiple rebellions and their technological advantage meant nothing against enemies who now knew how to neutralize it. Sub-Commander Vextar received emergency reports from across the galaxy. His empire was falling apart, and it was all because of one species that refused to follow the rules of conquest. "How did this happen?" he demanded of his advisors. "Sir, the humans did something no other species has ever done. Instead of keeping their weapons secret, they shared them with everyone. They turned our entire empire against us." For the first time in Krell history, their commanders began to consider the possibility of defeat. The humans had not only defended their own world, but had inspired a galactic revolution that threatened to destroy everything the Krell had built. Engineer Tony Garcia was working on the final piece of humanity's plan. Using captured alien technology, he was building Earth's first faster-than-light warship. "When this ship is ready," Tony told Dr. Foster, "we can take the fight directly to the Krell homeworld." The tables had completely turned. The species that came to conquer Earth was now facing extinction, and it was all because they had underestimated the creativity, determination, and moral courage of human beings. The Krell were about to learn the final lesson about humanity. Humans do not just fight for themselves, they fight for the idea that all beings deserve to be free. 1 year after the first alien ships appeared over Earth, the galaxy was in chaos. The Krell Empire that had dominated space for 3 centuries was collapsing as world after world declared independence using human-designed weapons and tactics. Captain Rachel Brooks stood on the bridge of humanity's first faster-than-light warship, the Freedom. Built from a combination of human engineering and captured alien technology, it was faster and more maneuverable than any Krell vessel. "Target acquired," her weapons officer reported. "Krell supply convoy dead ahead." "Fire all weapons," Rachel ordered. The Freedom's hybrid weapon systems tore through the alien convoy like lightning through paper. Human-designed kinetic weapons combined with alien energy technology created devastating firepower that the Krell could not match. "Convoy destroyed, Captain," her tactical officer announced. "No survivors." This was the new reality for the Krell Empire. Human warships were hunting their supply lines across the galaxy, while liberated worlds cut off their resource bases. The Empire was starving. On the Krell homeworld of Dominion Prime, Emperor Vashatar paced his throne room in growing panic. Reports arrived hourly of new disasters across his crumbling empire. "Your Majesty," his military advisor reported, "we have lost contact with 17 more worlds this week. The rebellions are spreading faster than we can respond." Emperor Vashatar had ruled the galaxy for 200 years. He had never imagined that primitive humans could destroy everything he had built. "How many ships do we have left?" the Emperor demanded. "Less than 300, Your Majesty. Most are trapped defending, remaining loyal worlds, or fighting the human fleet." The Emperor felt fear for the first time in his long life. The humans had not only defeated his invasion of Earth, they had somehow turned his entire empire against him. Intelligence Officer Commander Janet Torres was monitoring alien communications from her station aboard the Freedom. What she heard made her smile. "Captain Brooks, you need to hear this," Janet said. "I am picking up emergency broadcasts from the Krell High Command. They are calling for a full retreat to their home system." Rachel nodded grimly. "That means they are abandoning their outer colonies. The Empire is finished." The retreat was a disaster for the Krell. As their forces pulled back, liberated worlds seized alien technology and resources. Species that had been enslaved for centuries, were finally free to govern themselves. On Earth, Dr. Amy Foster was leading the largest scientific project in human history. Teams of researchers from dozens of formerly enslaved worlds were working together to improve upon Krell technology. The alien faster-than-light drives are efficient but limited, she explained to the international team. By combining human creativity with Zephyrian mathematics and Novan engineering, we can build ships that are twice as fast. Engineer Roy Baker was amazed by what they were accomplishing. 6 months ago, we were fighting for our lives. Now we are building technology that surpasses anything the Krell ever made. This cooperation between species was something the Krell had never allowed. They kept their conquered worlds isolated to prevent exactly this kind of technological advancement. Final assault on the Krell home system began with the largest fleet ever assembled. Ships from 40 liberated worlds joined the human fleet for the attack on Dominion Prime. The force was commanded by Admiral Jake Morrison, who had been promoted after his success in defending Earth. "This is not about revenge," Admiral Morrison announced to the fleet. "This is about making sure the Krell can never again threaten the freedom of any world." The battle for Dominion Prime lasted 3 days. The Krell fought desperately to defend their home world, but they were facing technology and tactics they could not counter. Human-led fleets used coordinated attacks while liberated species provided specialized support. Engineer Carlos Rivera had developed the most devastating weapon of all, a computer virus that could take control of Krell ships and turn them against each other. When the virus was released into the alien defense network, half the Krell fleet began attacking the other half. "Sir, the Krell defense fleet is destroying itself," the tactical officer reported to Admiral Morrison. "That is what happens when you rely too much on computers," the Admiral replied. "Humans learned long ago that technology is a tool, not a master." As the Krell defenses collapsed, Emperor Vashatar faced the end of everything he had known. His empire was gone, his fleets were destroyed, and enemy forces were landing on his home world. "Your Majesty," his last remaining advisor said, "the humans are requesting a meeting. They want to discuss surrender terms." The Emperor laughed bitterly. "Surrender terms? They should be demanding our complete destruction. That is what makes this so strange, Your Majesty. The humans seem to want to talk instead of simply executing us." President Helen Carter arrived on Dominion Prime aboard the Freedom. She brought with her representatives from all the liberated worlds and a proposal that shocked the Krell leadership. "Emperor Vashatar," President Carter said as they met in the ruins of his palace, "your empire is finished. Your fleets are destroyed, and your worlds are free. You have 2 choices. Face justice for your crimes or accept rehabilitation." The Emperor was confused. "Rehabilitation? I do not understand." "The human way is not to destroy our enemies, but to help them become better," President Carter explained. "Your species will be given the chance to learn how to live as equals instead of conquerors." Colonel Susan Lewis, now promoted to general, explained the details. "Krell military forces will be disbanded. Your technology will be shared with all species. Your people will learn about democracy, cooperation, and peaceful coexistence." This was completely unprecedented in galactic history. Conquering species usually enslaved or destroyed their enemies. The humans were offering something that had never been tried before: forgiveness combined with mandatory change. Dr. Foster presented the scientific cooperation plan. Krell researchers will work with teams from all liberated worlds to develop technology for peaceful purposes. Your knowledge will help build hospitals, schools, and farms instead of weapons. Programmer Nina Walsh had a special project for the Krell computer specialists. "Your people are experts at creating complex systems. We want you to help build communication networks that will connect all worlds and prevent future wars." Emperor Vashatar looked around at the humans and their allies. These people had every right to hate the Krell, but instead they were offering hope for the future. "Why?" the Emperor asked. "Why show mercy to those who tried to destroy you?" President Carter smiled. "Because that is what makes humans different from the Krell. We believe that everyone deserves a chance to change and become better." The formal surrender was signed on Earth 6 months later. Representatives from 50 worlds gathered to establish the new Galactic Council, with humanity serving as the first mediators. The Krell Empire was dead, but the Krell people were given a new beginning. They would learn to live in a galaxy where cooperation replaced conquest and where technology served all species instead of just one. As the ceremony ended, Admiral Morrison reflected on how much had changed. "1 year ago, we were fighting for our survival. Now we are building a future where no species will ever face what we went through. The humans had won more than a war. They had won the chance to remake the galaxy according to their values of freedom, cooperation, and hope for all intelligent life." 2 years after the last Krell warship surrendered, the galaxy was a completely different place. The first Galactic Council was meeting on Earth to celebrate the 2nd anniversary of liberation and to plan for the future. President Helen Carter stood before delegates from 53 worlds in the new council chamber built in orbit around Earth. Former enemies now sat together as equals, working to build something that had never existed before. A truly peaceful galactic civilization. "Friends and colleagues," President Carter began, "when the Krell first arrived at Earth, they expected easy conquest. Instead, they found something they could not understand, a species that refuses to accept that might makes right." In the audience, former Emperor Vashatar listened carefully. He now served as a cultural advisor, helping other former Krell worlds transition to democratic government. The change had been difficult for his people, but most had embraced their new role as contributors rather than conquerors. "Your Excellency," Vashatar said when called to speak, 2 years ago, I believed that strength meant the ability to destroy others. Humanity taught me that true strength means the ability to help others become their best selves." Dr. Amy Foster was now director of the Galactic Science Consortium, overseeing research projects that combined knowledge from dozens of species. Her latest project was developing medical technology that could help any species, regardless of their biology. The Krell had advanced technology, Dr. Foster explained to the council, but they used it only for conquest. By combining their knowledge with Zephyrian healing arts, Novan engineering, and human adaptability, we have created medical systems that are saving millions of lives across the galaxy. Her assistant, Tony Garcia, had become the lead engineer for the new class of exploration vessels. These ships were designed not for war, but for discovery and peaceful contact with new civilizations. "We are building ships that carry scientists and teachers instead of weapons and soldiers," Tony reported. "Our mission is to find new worlds and invite them to join our alliance, not conquer them." Admiral Jake Morrison was now Supreme Commander of the Galactic Defense Force, but this military was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of conquest fleets, it consisted of rapid response teams designed to prevent conflicts and protect developing civilizations. "Our job is not to fight wars," Admiral Morrison explained to new recruits from various worlds, "but to stop wars before they start. We use our strength to protect the weak, not to dominate them." The most remarkable transformation was happening on former Krell worlds. General Susan Lewis was leading the peacekeeping mission to help these planets transition from military dictatorships to free societies. "The hardest part," General Lewis reported to the council, "is helping people who have lived under tyranny for centuries learn to think for themselves. But we are seeing amazing progress." On the former Krell military world of Iron Fist, civilian schools were being built where weapons factories once stood. Children who would have been trained as soldiers were instead learning art, science, and cooperation. Captain Rachel Brooks was commanding the new exploration fleet that was mapping unknown regions of the galaxy. Her mission was to find isolated civilizations and offer them friendship and protection. "We have contacted 12 new species in the past year," Rachel reported. "All of them chose to join our alliance after learning about our principles of cooperation and mutual respect." The economic transformation was equally dramatic. Engineer Carlos Rivera was leading projects to convert former Krell war factories into facilities that produced useful goods for all species. Planets that once built weapons of conquest are now building medical equipment, communication systems, and exploration vessels, Carlos explained. "We have turned an empire of war into a civilization of progress." Programmer Nina Walsh had created the Galactic Information Network, a communication system that connected all member worlds and allowed instant sharing of knowledge, culture, and ideas. "For the first time in galactic history," Nina announced, "any being on any world can communicate with any other being anywhere in the galaxy. Information and education are now available to everyone." The cultural exchange was perhaps the most beautiful aspect of the new civilization. Former Resistance leader Frank Murphy was now directing the Galactic Cultural Exchange Program, which allowed young people from different worlds to study together. "We have students from Earth learning Zephyrian poetry, Novan mathematics, and even reformed Krell philosophy," Frank reported. "The next generation will grow up thinking of the galaxy as one community instead of separate competing worlds." Intelligence Officer Janet Torres had taken on a new role as Director of Conflict Prevention. Her job was to identify potential problems between worlds and solve them before they led to violence. "We have prevented 17 potential conflicts this year through diplomacy and mediation," Janet reported. "It turns out that most problems between species come from misunderstanding, not genuine incompatibility." News anchor Kelly Price was now broadcasting the Galactic Unity Network, sharing positive stories and educational content across all member worlds. "Today marks the 1,000th day since the last military conflict between member species," Kelly announced in her latest broadcast. "We are proving that intelligent beings can choose cooperation over competition." The children born after liberation were growing up in a galaxy where war between civilized species was becoming unthinkable. On Earth, human children played alongside young Zephyrians, Novans, and even reformed Krell in integrated schools. Dr. Foster watched a group of mixed-species children working together on a science project and smiled. "This is what we were really fighting for," she said to her colleagues. "Not just human freedom, but the freedom of all beings to reach their full potential." The ceremony concluded with the signing of the Galactic Peace Accord, a document that formalized the principles humanity had fought to establish. Every member world pledged to resolve conflicts through dialogue, share technology for the benefit of all, and protect developing civilizations from exploitation. As the delegates returned to their home worlds, former Emperor Vashatar approached President Carter one last time. "President Carter," he said, "I must ask you something that has puzzled me for 2 years. Why did humanity choose to forgive us instead of seeking revenge?" President Carter smiled. "Because revenge would have made us just another conquering species. Forgiveness allowed us to become something better, the species that ended conquest forever." As Earth rotated in space, its surface showed the lights of rebuilt cities where humans and aliens worked together. The orbital shipyards were building vessels of exploration and aid instead of weapons of war. Children from dozens of worlds were growing up believing that cooperation was normal and conflict was an ancient mistake. The Krell had come to Earth expecting to add another conquered world to their empire. Instead, they had awakened a force that transformed the entire galaxy. Humanity's greatest weapon had never been their technology or their tactics, but their fundamental belief that all intelligent beings deserved freedom, dignity, and the chance to determine their own destiny. The price of underestimating humans was not just military defeat, but the complete transformation of galactic civilization itself. The Krell Empire was gone forever, replaced by something infinitely better. A community of free worlds working together toward a future of unlimited possibility. In the end, humanity had won the greatest victory possible. They had not just defended their own world, but had created a galaxy where no world would ever again face the threat of conquest. The age of empires was over, and the age of cooperation had begun.